In the 1930s, a group of photographers set out across America to document the face of a suffering country. At the forefront stood Columbia University economics professor Roy Stryker. His vision, accompanied by his love for photography, the nation, and its workers, led him to create one of the greatest collections ever assembled. On Black Tuesday, October 29, 1929, the New York Stock Exchange collapsed, throwing America into economic freefall, causing nearly 30% of Americans to lose their jobs. In the Great Plains, farmers desperately tried to survive. Overplowing of the topsoil caused dirt and dust storms affecting 100 million acres of land, acquiring the name the Dust Bowl. In 1933, newly elected President Franklin Roosevelt launched the New Deal to lift the nation out of the Great Depression. Out of the New Deal came the Farm Security Administration, the FSA, which resettled and rehabilitated the Dust Bowl farmers and their families. In 1935, Roy Stryker became head of the FSA's historical section. Roy Emerson Stryker spent his childhood on a farm in Montrose, Colorado. The son of populist parents, Stryker developed a strong respect for the land and its laborers.
Stryker's family prayed together at night, and his father led the prayers, saying, "Bless the subsistence farmers and damn Standard Oil."
After serving in World War I, he attended Columbia University. During the summer of 1922, he attended a social gospel school in Colorado, where international labor leaders debated social policy and inspired Stryker to try menial labor. After gaining experience in farming and mining engineering, he graduated from Columbia in 1924 with an economics degree. Living in New York, Stryker became interested in documentary photography, recognizing its potential social impact after viewing Lewis Hines and Jacob Riis's photographs of urban slums and poverty. From 1935 until 1943, Stryker directed the documentation of the FSA's work. He enlightened the public's vision of the New Deal's programs through the then innovative medium of photography.
Our job was to introduce America to Americans.
The 1930s were known as the decade of photography. Before, photographs were for family portraits and landscapes, but by the 30s, they became a thoughtful tool of communication. Prominent picture magazines, such as Life and Look, emerged, using photographs to enhance their stories. While the FSA provided aid and relief to the impoverished, Stryker recorded its activities, with photographs of mistreated sharecroppers and tenant farmers in the South, the plight of the migrant worker in the West, farm displacement in the Northeast, and the horrors of the Dust Bowl in the heartland of America. These images introduced Americans to the struggles of those outside their hometowns and the monumental work of the New Deal government agencies. Ironically, Stryker was not a photographer himself. He recruited notable rising photographers with strong artistic backgrounds, providing them with very specific directions about what to photograph based on his own vast life experiences. Although it was Stryker who shaped the project, the photographers provided imagination. Walker Evans, a well-known and temperamental photographer, took photos that quickly became symbols of the Great Depression. His work was admired by Stryker, but they often disagreed. Evans strove for images that were pure record, not propaganda, while Stryker wanted photographs to promote social and political change. In 1937, Stryker fired Evans. Unlike Evans, Dorothea Lange approached photography with a social reformer's eye. She focused on the lives of migrant workers living in California, seeking to generate support for the establishment of federally financed housing in migrant camps. In California's Imperial Valley, Lange met migrant worker Florence Thompson with her 6 children. I saw and approached the hungry and desperate mother. I do not remember how I explained my presence or my camera to her, but I do remember she asked me no questions. There she sat in that lean-to tent with her children huddled around her, and she thought that my pictures might help her, and so she helped me. Lange snapped one of her most famous photographs, Migrant Mother, of Thompson and her children. Her photographs proved effective in persuading legislatures to establish federally funded housing programs. Stryker and the photographers expanded to social issues beyond poverty. Gordon Parks joined the FSA in 1942.
Stryker set me down the first day I got there and asked me point blank what I knew about Washington, D.C. I thought, Washington, D.C. should be the seat of democracy. He just looked at me and smiled. He said, I want to give you an assignment. Go across the street, there's a restaurant, eat, get yourself some lunch. After lunch, go across the street, there's a theater with a film I would like for you to review and tell me what you think of it. Then come back to the office.
When finished, Parks returned to Stryker.
I said, well, how did it go? I said, I think you know I'd win. He said, yeah, I know I'd win. I said, what are you going to do about it? I said, I don't know. What do I do about it? He said, well, what'd you bring that camera down here for?
Stryker directed Parks to a black charwoman, Ella Watson, working late in the office one night. Parks struck up a conversation.
She began to spill out her life story. It was a pitiful one. She had struggled alone after her mother had died and her father had been killed by a lynch mob.
Stryker's teaching and Watson's stark truthfulness allowed Parks to tell the story of intolerance through his most recognized photos. The FSA was an agency lacking strong support. Its programs were viewed by many as un-American, violating their idea of the free market and inspiring many to protest.
People didn't believe that things were as bad off as they were in some sections. People who were comfortably off in New York City attending art galleries and things like that went to the exhibit of the FSA photographs and just dismissed them. This can't be happening. This is America. What are you talking about? This is nonsense. This is a communist effort to bring down the country.
Some denied the accuracy of the photographs, but many were inspired to aid those suffering. While the photographers created a vast file documenting American life, they bolstered public support for the New Deal. President Roosevelt fought to preserve the New Deal, making it the focus of his 1936 election campaign. After his re-election, Roosevelt's New Deal and Stryker's photographs had a reprieve. Stryker's photographers produced over 250,000 images. By capturing so much of American life, the pictures successfully raised awareness of social issues. Stryker placed photographs in the most well-read and respected newspapers and magazines. The photographs were also exhibited throughout the country, including at the Democratic National Convention, the 1936 World's Fair in New York, and at the Museum of Modern Art. In his review, Sermon with a Camera, renowned poet William Carlos Williams wrote of Walker Evans' FSA photographs.
The total effect is of a social upheaval, not a photographic picnic. They pack a wicked punch. Pictures talk to us, and they say plenty.
By the time America entered World War II, the nation's focus shifted, and the FSA unit became the Office of War Information. The OWI worked to boost nationalism for the war effort, ironically becoming propaganda for a new cause. Dorothea Lange had the painful assignment of photographing the supposedly fair treatment of the Japanese on their way to internment camps, while Gordon Parks's photographs of black fighter pilots were ejected from publication. Stryker knew his work was coming to an end and resigned in 1943. After Stryker's resignation, his political opponents sought to destroy the collection. However, he arranged for it to be preserved by the Library of Congress, where a collection of 170,000 negatives still resides. Roy Stryker's use of photographs to illustrate social and political reform was revolutionary. FSA photographs forged unforgettable images in America's collective memory. When the Dust Bowl is mentioned, one pictures Arthur Rothstein's fleeing a dust storm. Migrant workers in California evoke Dorothea Lange's migrant mother. Russell Lee's photographs of small-town American life and Walker Evans' tenant farmers are timeless national symbols.
He was always questioning. He was always the academic, and you don't take anything at face value. You listen, you ask questions, you come up with your own conclusion, and it wasn't a safe country if you couldn't do that.
Roy Stryker's permanent record of a pivotal point in the country's history tells the story of a nation caught between two wars, turbulent with conflict and change.